Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week it's our production and distribution stream focusing on guiding indie authors through the many pathways to create, publish, and distribute their work. We'll explore strategies, weigh the pros and cons of different models, and help you find the best fit for your publishing journey. This Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast is sponsored by BookVault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. This podcast is also sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, the all-inclusive gold standard in publishing, offering authors 100% rights, royalties, satisfaction, and worldwide distribution. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And here's your host for the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast, Anna Featherstone.
Hello and welcome to you wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call home. I'm your host, Anna Featherstone, and I'm recording this conversation today from central Victoria, Australia. I'm visiting a gorgeous little old gold rush town I'm very tempted to call Castlemaine, but the locals will run me out of town if I do, as the correct pronunciation is Castlemaine. It's a place that is the traditional lands of the Jar Jar Wurrung people, who I look forward to learning more about and from while I'm here. And it seems like a really strange place to be exploring augmented reality for authors from, that's for sure. But I'm excited because it's a topic I know very little about. So let's learn together about what AR is, where it fits in, and how it's being used across book production, marketing, websites, and beyond. And we're able to explore all things augmented reality thanks to our guest, Stuart Grant, founder of the Digital Authors Toolkit. Stuart is the highest rated author website designer on Readsy, a former radio presenter and theatre lecturer, and the founder of Digital Authors Toolkit. He's known to blend practical advice with innovative tech like AR, AI, and animation. So, Stuart, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. That introduction sounds brilliant. I sound like I really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out.
Thank you so much for that. It's great to be here. I'm a great fan of ALLi and all that they do. Been a member for years, and a big ambassador for you guys. And it's a pleasure to be on the podcast. So thank you.
How did you come to be experimenting with tools like AR?
Well, I've always been a bit of a tech head. I love technology. I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm very much like, oh, there's another bright thing over there, a bit of a magpie when it comes to new toys. I mean, I'm terrible with it. There's a service called AppSumo, which some of you have probably heard of.
Yeah.
And they do like discounted software and stuff and lifetime deals. And I pretty much spend all of my earnings on products from there. Just to experiment with stuff. And then I try it and I always think, how can this apply to readers and authors? Because I've been in the business, in this industry now for well over 10 years, coming up to 14 actually. And my core product is author websites, as you mentioned, which is great. And I've made over 400 of those now for various authors across. But I'm really interested in what's beyond the website and what's beyond the book, and the technology that is happening elsewhere that authors are not necessarily implementing into their strategy. And I kind of want to bring those things through so that everybody is using this tech, and is up to date with what's going on. And AI obviously is the big thing that everybody's dipping their toe into, if they're into it or not. I've been experimenting using animated covers. We've been using augmented reality, which we're going to delve into a bit today, and some other stuff as well. I mean, I've just been working out near field technology, so which is basically how you tap your credit card or whatever onto a reader. Mm-hmm. There is no reason why we can't have books that have that functionality. So you tap on the book, and author face pops up and says, "Hey, thanks for reading my book. Hope you've enjoyed it," or whatever. So, all these things that already exist, it's about taking them and thinking, how can this apply to the author or, publishing industry? That's where my kind of starting point is for this stuff.
Okay, so let's start simple. For authors out there who don't consider themselves techie, what exactly is augmented reality?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there's all these key phrases out there, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality. It's all very overwhelming to some degree. So yeah, breaking it down into sections, augmented reality is when basically you overlay something on the real world. So if you can imagine, you look at maybe through your phone a picture of your lounge and you can
Mhm.
see a new piece of furniture. It exists in the augmented space. So you are still in the real space, but there is images or things that exist in the augmented space. And you've probably seen
Ah.
or heard about this because, if you can imagine, some opticians now do a thing where you can, you sit in front of the camera and it will put different glasses on your face. So that's augmenting reality. It's putting different glasses, or you can try different hairstyles. If
Hmm.
you go on Amazon now, you can actually, a lot of the products now you can see in your room in inverted commas. So you can choose a chair and it will say, open your camera app and you point it at your lounge and it will show you what that chair is going to look like in your room. Okay. So that's the essence of it. It's overlaying the augmented on the reality, if you like. So you know, and it's got some really exciting possibilities for authors, but that is essentially what it is, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we're going to get deep into all the different ways so people can get an idea of how that looks for books. But why are we even talking about this? Like, why should indie authors be paying attention to this kind of tech? And why should we even think about potentially including it in our production processes?
Because it creates a more in-depth relationship with the user and the reader. It gives them, rather than static content which does nothing, it actually talks to them, it relates to them. In some cases, it can even answer them, and it just creates less of a barrier between you and the reader. It becomes much more, your products come alive. They're not just a book or text, they are a thing that lives and breathes, and adds to the experience. And I think that's the core to it, really. This isn't about replacing anything. There's my dog. That's Dora. Sorry, someone's had the
That's
audacity
that's
to walk past.
that's dog reality.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could switch her off. Um, yeah, so it's all about that kind of adding to, that we've got beautiful books, but how can we make that slightly more interesting, more engaging, or give the reader more reason to engage with us and buy more books? So also, I think as authors or any business, to be honest, you've got to keep an eye on what is coming. If you don't,
Hmm.
you are going to get left behind. It doesn't mean you have to use it, but just even having the knowledge or the awareness of what's out there is going to put you in a stronger position than people that don't know. And as I've mentioned already, massive players like Amazon have adopted this technology. It's part and parcel of the shopping experience now. Um, and if they're adopting it, then quite frankly, it's good enough for me. They do billions of dollars of research into this stuff. They would not invest in it. They would not use it if they did not feel that it drew customers to their stores and encouraged them to buy. So I think we have to
In
kind of look at it in that way.
Yeah, and in that example that you're using, are you saying like customers trying on clothes or yeah, okay.
Or
Okay.
furniture, or I mean, you can literally do
Yeah.
anything now. If you're going to buy an air conditioning unit, you point your phone at the lounge and you can see where it's going to be and if it fits, or is the right color. I
Mm,
mean, if you haven't played with it, it's free to do. Obviously, you just go onto Amazon and find a product that's got AR. Most of them do now, and play with it yourself.
Obviously, I haven't been hanging out there enough
No,
or shopping enough.
no.
So have you seen any standout examples, perhaps from another industry, to give us an idea of the potential of augmented reality in storytelling or branding?
Yeah.
Or is it just those? Yeah.
No, I mean, the applications are endless. So there was an example a few years ago now, actually, the Times newspaper had an AR bit in their newspaper where you could meet athletes from the Olympics in your lounge. So you could, see them you could see them on your phone in your space. So these sort of athletes were there and you could look round them and look at them, and it was A
Oh,
really
whoa.
interesting concept. Yeah. And Coke, people like that, Apple, they've all used this technology in one form or another, for various things to bring things alive, overlaying stuff on a can or whatever. There are tons of examples out there, actually. Some people just haven't really clocked it. I think that's the thing. It's just kind of, generally you have to scan a QR code to make it active. That's the kind of inroad to it generally. But yeah, so there's been a
Okay.
few examples out there, more than a few. But yeah, that's kind of one of the most famous ones is the Times athletes in your lounge. But I mean, for an author, I mean, we can maybe talk about this in a second, but the applications are the same. So you could bring your characters to life, you can bring yourself to life, you could meet the reader in their space, in that sense, using your book covers or text or whatever. I'll let you get to the question so I
Yeah, well, I suppose you're kind of starting to answer the question. So walk us through those ways that authors can use AR, like covers, websites, workshops, merch.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
that. So I mean, covers is the big one for me. That's the one that I love the idea of. So if you can imagine a reader, picking up your book in Barnes and Noble or wherever, they scan the cover and up you pop and say, "Hey, thanks for reading my book. I hope you've enjoyed it. You can sign up for more information and a free lead magnet, whatever, at www.imthebestauthor.com." And that kind of appears literally on the cover of the book. And you wouldn't know it's going to be there until you scan it, and it just pops up, and there you are, just like I am here on video.
Does the person have to keep their phone hovered over the book?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
That's
okay.
how you see
And
the video. The video appears on the phone.
right. And on that cover, is there a visual QR code that
Yes,
starts that process?
correct. So there would have to be a
Okay.
QR code somewhere. It can be quite tiny and discreet.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to interfere with your front cover, you could put it elsewhere in the book. But the beautiful thing about it is you can do it on any part of the book. So you could do it inside the book. So say, for example, you are writing a beautiful piece about Paris, and there's a high stakes race through Paris or whatever with your book, and you could have a tiny QR code in the corner of that bit of text. The reader scans it and up pops a video with images of Paris, showing the locations that you're talking about. So they get a really immersive experience in that moment. Not only are they reading it, but they're seeing it as well. And with the advent of AI, for example, if you're into that, and you want to create some AI sort of lands in your fantasy book, which are quite difficult to describe sometimes. You could actually create some in AI and have a gallery on the text inside the book that the readers can see. So it just really brings those books completely to life. It gives you context, it gives you environment, it gives you a relationship. They see you if you want to be on videos or whatever. And a really neat little trick that I thought of a couple of weeks ago, which I'm going to start to implement, is that lots of authors want to sell signed copies.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Mm-hmm.
problems with that is that obviously the author has to buy or get the book in their hand prior to sending it out at the post office or whatever. So print on
Yeah.
demand's brilliant, but you can't sign the books first, so you can't send them out that way. So to get round that, whatever.
Circumvent.
That's the word.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's the one.
This could be a really neat trick. So you send out the book that's got a QR code in it, which are the dynamics. You can change the kind of where it points. So say, for example, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to send a book out to you. I put a QR code in it. They scan the front cover and up I pop and say, "Hey, Anna, your friend Darren has asked me to send you a personalized copy of this book. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm the author, and I hope you go on to read the rest of the series or whatever." So, you've got rid of the step where you need to sign the book, and they've got a really cool short video just for them, and all you do is change the QR code. So, that's a really neat application for it as well.
Would you have to then change the QR code like on the printed book before it's sent? So you'd have to change your cover? Or would you be sending a link to the QR code with the order?
Exactly that.
like by email.
Exactly. Yes, you just send
Okay.
the new QR code every time. The
Right.
cover is still the prompt, if you like, but the
Yeah.
QR code is
Yeah.
different. So they scan that QR code, scan the cover, and off it pops. And
Hmm.
the video plays. So that's just one tiny little, I mean, aside from the cover coming to life and the book coming to life, you've now got the option to actually talk to various readers yourself, as a person. Um,
S- Are you seeing any use of that kind of a, well, I mean, that's kind of a newish idea, but like for authors using Kickstarter, being able to do some extra special augmented reality for those purchasers, those supporters?
no, I haven't seen that happen. But I think it's because there's just such a lack of awareness and possibility around it. People don't understand it yet. They haven't really
Hmm.
clicked as to how it can work. And I think you're absolutely right. That could be a really easy win for people doing Kickstarters. They can produce, individual videos to readers for one of the tiers or whatever.
Hmm.
Really easy,
Hmm.
really quick, takes 3 seconds, just switch on your phone, record the video, create the QR code, off you go. So yes, I think that's a brilliant application for it within Kickstarter.
Hmm. Okay. Well, there we go. We've come up with one new idea
Yeah,
today. We're loving that.
exactly. Thanks very much. I'll just note that down.
Yeah. Um, so do you have a favorite example of an AR enhanced website or book that's nailed it?
Well, as I say, the I haven't really been pushing the purchasing of it yet. So
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
been using it personally quite
Yeah.
a lot, and I've used it on my business card. So when I've been going to
Okay.
Vegas and Author Nation and London and what have you, I take the business card, and what happens basically is that people can scan it, and I pop up and say, "Hey, thanks for taking my business card." And I've seen a massive increase in sign-ups as a result of that video. So when I was giving out the business card
Hmm.
previously, it was a bit tumbleweedy. But since I put this application on it and it comes alive, people are like, "Oh wow, this is amazing." And I think that is what authors really always need to be looking for, the wow factor and the standout factor, because we're in a very crowded market, lots of people trying to do the same thing, trying to access the same audience, in similar ways often. And if you've just got that one thing that makes you stand out, I think there's a chance that readers are going to be drawn to you as somebody that's on top of stuff, that's got something different. I mean, animated covers in a similar way. We see tons of covers, static covers on social media. They're two for a penny wherever you go. But ones that move, that's outstanding and it stands out. And people are literally, readers are like, wow. Um, and I mean,
Yeah. So those animated covers you're talking about, so that's a different category again to augmented reality. So that's where you
correct,
have a book cover and then you add some moving elements that can be seen if you're looking at it on a computer screen. So you might have snow falling.
correct.
So the book cover stays the exact same, but you might have a pattern of light or a rain, or you just add something over the top.
Well, just to add to the complication, it's gone way beyond that now. So the first level is the sort of overlay. So, I mean, a
Hmm.
good example is a guy called Michael that we did a book for who's got a drowning woman on the front of his book. So we've added
Oh,
all these
I
bubbles.
don't know if that's good.
No, and I don't know if she dies or not. Let's assume she doesn't. All
I hope
right.
not. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've added a load of water bubbles rising, from her sort of body as she descends into the thing. And then there's another one with like a fantasy cover, and we've added just like really beautiful overlays to make it have that magical feel. But now I'm at the stage where I'm actually creating book covers that actually move. So, in the sense that, for example, Heather, an author of ours, who we're working with, she sent me a book cover of her new book, which has got a dog on
Hmm.
a pier with some water, and in the distance there's a helicopter. Okay, so that's the static image. It looks great. So I did
Hmm.
my magic with it, and now the dog walks out onto the pier, and the helicopter comes at you on the book cover
Oh,
with all the
yeah.
sounds and the wind, and there's gunshots out of the helicopter. So it becomes a 10-second movie, the actual book cover, all moves and does stuff. So that's the kind of
Right.
stage we're at now. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely
And is
insane.
that So that kind of image then, moving image, that appears like on the author's website in their socials, but would that be able to be put on Amazon or any of the other online booksellers?
No, not at the moment.
No. Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it
Okay.
will come. I mean, I haven't fully investigated that. There may be a way
Mm,
of converting what is the video into like a GIF, and
mm.
possibly some of the providers would allow a GIF cover instead of a JPEG or whatever. And I think it will come. I mean, there's no question about it, actually, it will
But
come.
it's,
Not
yeah, more
currently,
for advertising
yeah. But
on
if
other
you think
platforms
about
and
TikTok, that is book shaped, for goodness sake. You know what I mean? The whole image
mm,
is book.
mm,
So if you're saying, "Oh, check out the cover of my new book," and you point and there it is, but it starts moving, wow, your readers are going to go, "Oh my God, I've never seen a moving book cover before." So yes, it's for
mm.
that kind of marketing currently, and obviously on your website and in emails, mainly for the show stopping thumb stop on social media. I think that's its biggest application at the moment. But long term, I think yes, we will be seeing it on Amazon and wherever else.
Yeah. So this on this podcast stream that I do, we talk like production and distribution, and we were working out, well, should this really be, in the design stream or the marketing stream? But it's almost like I was thinking it's more like you have to decide as an author if you want to involve augmented reality at any stage in the production process, because it's actually a different way at looking at how you create, and it would change your timelines, like how long you'd have to, wait for, well, to develop the creative idea firstly, and then apply it across different things. Are you seeing when AR is applied to a website or books, is there any difference in engagement than with static content?
Oh, yes, is the short answer. Um, we've got a natural inquisitive nature as humans, and if someone says, oh, scan this book cover and it comes alive, you most likely a lot of people will go, oh, I'll have a look at that. So yes, in terms of people doing the thing, absolutely, people are doing it. They are scanning, they are looking at it, and because it is much more interactive and personal, they are then encouraged, if you like, to do whatever the call to action is, be that sign up to a mailing list or buy book two, or I mean, you could have the reader reading a chapter from the book, on the front cover. You could have a character talking to, you could create an AI
Hmm.
character. I mean, the ways of connecting with the reader relatively cheaply and quickly, it doesn't have to interfere with your process too much, because keep it simple. It is literally as easy as getting your phone and saying, hey, thanks for picking up my book. It doesn't have to be high stakes studio quality, um
Hmm.
because I don't need to say that video is just huge. Look at TikTok, look at stories, look at all the stuff that
Hmm.
our audiences, the authors audiences, are used to video. It works, we know that, it's undeniable. And I just think there's an opportunity for authors to kind of hustle on the side with this new tech and almost be some of the first really, to do it. Um,
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I love when someone orders my books from my website, and I always write like a personal note, like, depending what book they're buying, it's like a thank you to them and also wishing them well,
yeah,
for whether they're writing and publishing or whether they're just starting organic farming or whatever, they bought the book to, to help with their dream. And I kind of like that idea of being able to have that chat and actually say it. I mean, I love writing it as well, and I just feel so personal and happy when I write it. But I kind of think that's a kind of a cute idea to be able to have a personal thank you and that wishing well, like that human to human. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh,
but
there you
it
go.
doesn't exclude the other one. That's the thing,
No,
do
no,
both,
exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's
yeah.
absolutely room for both those solutions. The difficulty at the moment is that obviously some people that are selling direct are going through third parties, so you don't get your hands on the book. But
Yes, of
actually,
course.
but this solution actually solves that problem, because you don't need to have your hands on the book, because you record the video and send them the QR code, but that book
Mm.
becomes, specific to them, if you see what I mean.
So, well, if it was bought at a regular store, it would just be the one QR code. You wouldn't be able to know who it was, so you'd have to have more generic message on that book.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this
So it sounds kind of, very groovy, I must say, some of these things. Also a bit overwhelming, like it's one more thing us authors have to think about.
yeah.
But if an author does want to dip their toes in the water, like, can we do it ourselves? Like, we're all indie publishers. We like doing a lot of things ourselves and experimenting.
Mhm.
Are there tools or platforms we can explore? And also, if we're like, no way, don't want to go there, want to hire a pro, like, talk to us about budgeting and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it is really in its early phases at the moment. There are a few providers out there. They range in price. Got, funnily enough, something from AppSumo called Stories AR. And I think that was like 49 bucks lifetime, so free forever sort of thing. So that's brilliant. There are other players now as well. They tend to be more like $5 to $10 a month for sort of
Mm,
unlimited AR stuff. So there is a minimal cost involved. Um, it is actually so easy to do because all you really need is the photo or the image that is going to come alive, whatever that be, whether it's the text or the cover or whatever, and then the video. And generally, you just upload one and upload the other, and it sorts it all out for you. So there's no real tech learning
mm,
involved. So although, yes, of course, you can hire somebody like me to do it. I mean, I haven't even really thought about pricing, but I'm thinking it's not going to be cost prohibitive in the sense that, maybe 49 bucks per audio
yeah.
augmented reality thing. So all the author would do
Mm,
is send me the cover, send me the video, and I'll sort out the QR code and all of that. So yeah, we're not sort of talking thousands of dollars to develop an app. It should
mm,
be a
mm.
fairly low entry point, low cost addition.
Yeah, so it is something people can DIY or they could outsource. And I suppose if it is going to be a growing area, like obviously ALLi's not pointing people one way or the other. So it's like there's, do your due diligence and people can look around and talk to other people and see where it goes. So if, and also we've got ALLi's vetted service providers too, so people can look up people there as well.
Yeah.
But if authors do want to outsource, and they want to find someone reliable, like what kind of questions should they be asking or what should they look out for?
I think this is appropriate for any when you're looking as an author for does the provider understand storytelling? Do they have a at least brief or marginal understanding of what an author is and what they're trying to achieve? And I think whenever you approach a provider, you don't feel that you can't brief them on your objectives as an author because it's very easy to it's sort of one size fits all from a freelancer's point of view. Oh, I do
Mm,
this, but I do it for everybody. Well, I would need you to make sure you're doing it for me specifically. So don't be afraid to send them a brief sheet. This is what I try and do. This is who I'm doing it to. And I think that's it really. Just be honest with the provider, ask questions, have you ever made anything for an author before? And if they haven't, that doesn't mean you can exclude them from asking them to do it because you might be there first and you can help them. So yeah, I think there's obvious questions to ask them like that, like have you worked with authors before, but don't think they can't do it if they say no,
yeah.
because
Okay,
they
so we've talked a lot about the cool stuff. What about the challenges? So, what are some of the downsides or limitations authors should know about? I'm thinking, well, we've got tech overwhelm, keeping things updated, all those kind of things. Like, what do you think in that area?
Yeah, well, both those. To be honest, there's not a huge amount. I mean, tech overwhelm is obviously one of the big things. Authors have got a gazillion plates that they're spinning already. Adding in
Mm,
another one is always like and I get that completely. We're all in that boat, to be honest. But if you can make room for these things, they might be worth at least an afternoon's worth of your time playing with it, trying it, seeing examples or whatever. So the tech overwhelm bit absolutely is understandable and reasonable. But all of this stuff is becoming quicker and easier. It's not like this takes long drawn out. I mean, whatever your position on AI might be, that is one of the ways you can use AI as a tool to, have a chat with chat and ask it, what are the providers out there for augmented reality? What are the benefits as for an author to use it, and see what it comes up with, because you can get a third party sort of opinion on that basis. And I can't remember what you said as your second point, but that was really valid too.
Okay, yeah, like keeping things updated. Like,
Oh
like
yeah,
tech
sorry.
moves so fast. So it's like, oh, you've gone down, you've put all this time and effort into creating something, then suddenly it's like, oh, wait, there's a new thing, or
Yeah,
what you
absolutely.
used is now outdated and that broke. And
Yeah, and I
yeah.
mean that is a risk for any sort of new thing, isn't it? That it's going to fail or it's not going to continue or whatever. I mean, because it's so low cost, because it's so easy, you know, and it should last forever. Once you create that book cover, unless you change the book cover, obviously you'd have to change
Mm.
the QR code because it wouldn't recognize the new cover. So yes, there would be those tiny little things to consider. But again, you're not necessarily talking about massive overhauls of your technology or flow. It's just a change, in the back end of whatever software you're using. You just say, right, instead of looking at this cover, you're going to look at this cover instead. You keep the same video, you could even keep the same QR code. So, you know,
Well, I think one of the things probably is for authors as well, like, I don't know what you recorded on your business card for that, but it's like you'd have to keep a spreadsheet too of, oh, every 6 months it's time to update. If you've released a new book or if you've got a new service. So that's something that people would probably need to keep track of as part of their production process too, like the reminder to, like when you have a website and you haven't updated it in like 5 years and you're like,
yeah,
oh, I wrote 2 books back then, but I've written 12 now, or you just haven't updated things. So I think that's something,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean that
people
would
could
feel the
keep an eye
pain.
on.
I mean
Yeah.
everybody suffers from that, don't they? I mean, my website portfolio is about 2 years out of date because typically, the last one I do is my own, and it's always the way. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Time is
Yeah.
our enemy. It always is. But you know, I think the key to this is if you start seeing a return on investment and readers are engaged and love it or enjoying the experience of whatever it is you're adding to your content, then it's an incentive, isn't it, to do it more and check it and update it. And you're absolutely right. The amount of readers that I meet and they say, "Oh, I've got a website somewhere. I'm sure I put it over there," and I blow the dust off. And oh dear, it's a bit out of date, because Auntie Mabel made it in 1990. But so yeah, I mean that is classic, business. I mean that's not just authors, all businesses
Yeah.
suffer from that issue. So yeah, obviously it's something you're going to have to consider going forward is keeping stuff up to date, but most of it should sit there evergreen unless you change things like the cover or the offer that you're giving or whatever. And again, it shouldn't take
Mm.
too long to update those things. It's not like a whole
So
rebuild.
yeah. Okay, so I'm just trying to think, like, would augmented reality enhance or interfere in any way with how people distribute their books, either digitally or physically?
Do you know what? It shouldn't
Like,
make any difference whatsoever. The only difference that you're going to see is the inclusion of a QR code somewhere. So
mm.
that QR code could sit on the back cover, very discreet.
Yeah, so it doesn't actually have to be on the front cover.
No, no, no,
It
no,
could
no.
be in the book
Yes.
as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
be
okay.
in the book, on the
Okay.
back of the book, or
Yeah.
supplementary, it could be in an email, and that
Mm.
QR code just works on that cover. So they scan that from the email and point it at the book, and it will come alive that way. It doesn't actually even have to be sort of in the same place. It can be separate. In fact, you could have a list of the QR codes on your websites. If they are those generic videos that we talked about, you could say, scan this QR code and the cover of book Y, and it will say, "Hey, thanks for reading book Y. I hope you're going to read book Z. I can tell you a little secret that so and so is going to die," or whatever it is. So you could have those on your website. I don't know why I'm obsessed with death this morning.
I know. Come on. Where are
Sorry,
the
everybody.
flowers? Where is
So
the
yeah, but there's 100 ways you can manage that to make it really low impact and all you would be
mm,
doing
mm.
is including potentially a QR code somewhere. And with tools like Vellum and all of them, you can now add images and whatever the hell you like to internally and externally. I mean, talking of that, one of the things that really annoys me is that authors don't put their web addresses on the back of their books. Why not? There's no reason why it can't go on there. You've got horrible ISBNs and all sorts. Your website address should be on the back of your book because it's the first thing people do. They go, "Oh, that's a nice book," and then they turn it over and, "Oh, look, I can go
Mm.
to find out more." And on audio as well. Actually, that drives me mad. That at the end of your audio books, you should be saying, "If you've enjoyed this book, check me out at www.imthebestauthor.in-the-world.com." And I've only ever heard two authors do that, and funnily enough, those two authors are very successful. So
Mm,
not
mm.
including that at the end of your audio. I know we've gone off track here, but just that's a tip. Do it. I have checked with Audible. It's perfectly fine to do it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So are there any times you'd recommend authors hold off and don't go down the AR path?
Yeah. I mean, I think you've made the point earlier about overwhelm, and I think that's a really valid reason not to do some of this stuff. Certainly not all at once. Start small, maybe investigate it a little bit, check out some examples or whatever. But if it's not your bag, that it's certainly not by any stretch something you have to do. This is adding to what you already do, not replacing. And if your workflow and your system is working and you don't need to touch any of this stuff, then don't touch it. I think that's absolutely valid. There's absolutely no obligation to do this. These are just ideas. And, I could sit here and talk for hours about the ideas I've got for authors, all of which are fascinating and interesting, but none, you don't need to do any of them. So, no, I don't think there's
Mm-mm.
any sort of compunction to do it. And authors shouldn't feel they have to or feel like they're chasing the next thing, because that's an easy
Yeah.
trap to fall into as well. But some authors love it and will do it because it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting.
Mm.
Others won't like it for whatever reason, but as we know, you can't please all of the people all of the time. So
Yeah. Hey, you gave some great fiction examples before for fiction books. Have you seen any or done any for non-fiction using AR?
well, weirdly, I think it actually has more applications inside non-fiction because, inside the book you could have interactive videos where the author is talking about whatever it is they're talking about. They could show examples, they could have, a worksheet, they could have all kinds of non-fiction stuff, inside the book that's accessible just by scanning, basically. No third party needed, just your phone. So yeah, I think weirdly non-fiction has almost more applications for this, or certainly as many as fiction. Because almost the content's already written in non-fiction. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's charts and graphs and processes or whatever. Whereas with non-fiction, sorry, with fiction, you'd have to create the characters or create the video of you talking or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any difference between them. I think they've both got really interesting applications, non-fiction and fiction.
So when you just said the charts, are you saying so are the charts already in the book or it's extra charts that could be provided
Both.
through AR?
Yeah.
Because why would they need it? What I mean is, why would they need the chart twice?
Well, yeah, absolutely. They wouldn't.
Or do you mean you'd make it animated
You
as well?
exactly. Yeah, you could do any of
Or,
that. You could show, a new version of the chart or a different thing, or I'm just trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but maybe if you're showing a chart that's got certain things in the chart, I don't know, whether it's examples of foods, you might want to show a gallery of those foods or something. I don't know. So yeah, it might just be bringing that chart to life, or it could replace it. I mean, if it's a dynamic chart that is going to change over time, rather than having to concern yourself with keep reprinting the book, you could have a chart that updates itself using the QR, and the AR technology. So it could be the latest version of the chart, that you see in the book using
hmm
that
hmm
technology. So that
All
would be
right.
a nice way of using it. Um, and I think, getting experts to maybe talk in the book about the subject. I don't know. I don't write non-fiction or fiction, so and
So you could include like clips of an interview,
Mhm.
like so the actual verbal clip that you, when you're interviewing someone, you could have a little video of it
Exactly.
and and so when you talk about that, they can sit with you like it's like they're in your lounge room. So
Mhm.
like the athletes were sitting in your lounge room
Yeah.
or whatever. Is that just like but they're like filmed with a green screen or how
Yeah.
does that work?
They sort of, you've probably seen it on TV. They sort of used all these spots which measure it.
Ah, okay.
And then, so they're not interactive at this point. They are just sort of an image which you can walk around and see. So they're sort of
Ah,
standing still in that instance. Um,
huh.
I mean, they could be animated. It depends how they could move and
Mm,
talk. But yes, you kind of. I'm trying to think of an example because I need to show something. But if you can imagine holding your hand up like in the air and then just scanning round it, that's what it's like. It's like being able to see that hand in space on your phone. Um, but the
and
technology is growing, developing. They do and already do talk and move. Depends
yeah.
what it is. It could be a video, it could be a static image, could be and I'm sure you've all seen the 3D sort of mock-ups of buildings, where they spin round and
Yes.
you can see them. And
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing that,
So so an entry level for an author, we don't need to worry about that. It's more just like a regular video. We're not necessarily sitting in the person's lounge room.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be. I mean, no, you certainly aren't going to be sort of existing in there in that sense. I mean, what we're talking about at this level is literally just static images coming to life with stuff. There are two things we're talking about here, and I think that's where the confusion's happening.
Mm-mm.
We're talking about augmented reality and virtual reality. So, augmented reality, as I said, is where you overlay something on the real world. Virtual reality is where it's more immersive because you actually go into the world and you can see it around you. Okay, so that's virtual reality. So if you've got the
Yeah.
new iPhone 16, you'll see on the bottom where you open your camera that one of the options is portrait, photo, pano or whatever, and spatial. So you can
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
spatial photos. And I was at an Ed Sheeran concert on Sunday night, and I took a spatial photo in the belief that, well, not in the belief, in the understanding that at some point I'll be able to put on some, VR glasses and look around the stadium, and see it.
Oh, I had no idea that that is what that was. I'm like, what
Right.
is this spatial choice? And I was just like, what?
Ah,
Okay, so that's what it is it? So
yeah,
that
so it's taking a
eventually,
virtual reality photo or image that you can then explore and you see and you're looking
oh,
around it.
whoa. Yeah.
So that
Oh,
that's where
gee. I don't
you're
think anyone would want to see me dancing at an Ed Sheeran concert.
same, absolutely, or singing would be even worse. But no, and on all this stuff is just so exciting in terms of all the stuff that's coming onto it, it's coming into our hands. That's the thing, it's not like we've got to have special equipment. But yes, down the road you could have your characters come to life and or what your fantasy world created and people can walk into it and look around it if they've got the right, hardware.
Mm.
Whereas what we're really talking about at the moment is,
Is the augmented.
yeah, which is the overlay
Yeah.
sort of stuff on something else.
Yeah.
It has lots of business
Do you,
applications as well.
yeah, like what?
Well, say for example, let's take the ALLi logo. You could have the
Hmm.
ALLi logo, and then there's a little QR code next to it. Somebody scans the QR code, scans the logo, and it pops up with somebody, Orna or whatever, saying, "Hey, if you're interested in ALLi, this is what we do. This is the things we can offer." They're not having to go to a third place. They're going to that one place, and all the information's there. So even things like logos can come alive and tell you about the system or whatever it is that you're offering. Um, so ALLi, I think, could use it a lot, even in like the indie author magazine that you publish, why doesn't the front cover come alive and, the headline editorial is actually there talking their words as well as, and I think in terms of
Mm.
accessibility, this is quite an important development because, for blind or partially sighted people that can't access this stuff maybe as easily, the idea of audio or video coming alive is really interesting for them. And I've worked with a couple of completely blind authors who actually, having gone through this process with them, it's become more obvious to me than ever just how unprepared for their needs the world is. You know,
Oh yeah.
we really have no clue. And hands in the air, I'd never really thought about it prior to this experience. And I think this technology really brings that alive as well. For them, it can add to the experience. Obviously, they can't necessarily see the video, but they can certainly hear the content and engage with it that way. So, yeah, logos, pull-ups, we've all seen them at banners, we all see them at all the conferences. People could scan them and it can tell you about the business. I have people coming up to me at conferences all the time and say, what does Digital Authors Toolkit actually do? And I could just put a little video of myself on the poster and I just say, oh, just scan that and it will show you, and then I pop up on the poster and say, hey, thanks for your interest. This is what we do.
And can they pause that?
No. Well,
So okay, like so
kinda.
your phone. So yeah. So how do you like?
If you went
Let's
off,
say it's a racy book and you scanned it and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want everyone hearing this right
oh,
now.
I love that.
Like, how do you turn it off then?
Well,
Or
you just don't scan the thing. So you take your phone away from whatever you're looking at. Do you see what I mean?
oh, okay. So you have to keep it on the QR
Yes,
code the whole time.
correct. No, not
Okay,
the QR
I'm
code,
loving
the
this.
image.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just
Yes.
you just
Oh, keep it over the image.
so you just
Okay, over
move
the
your
image the
phone,
whole
and then
time.
if it's not seeing the image, it won't play the video, and it will pause. And actually, if you put it back, it should pick up from where it depends on the back end, to be honest, but it should pick up from where you left it. But yes, I mean,
Oh, wow.
applications for it in terms of genre, I think you're absolutely right. You could have some racy stuff on there. Maybe the couple come alive that are on the front cover of the book or inside the book, and you see them walking down a beach, partially dressed or whatever, or if it's a sci-fi book, you could see the universe that we're in. You can see the strange looking creatures. I don't know. I mean,
Mm,
it's just
mm,
endless.
mm.
It's only limited by what you can imagine, actually.
Well, and you give that to a bunch of very creative authors who are our listeners, and who knows what
Exactly.
people are going to come up with. I mean, it's interesting. It's almost like authors morphing into screenwriters and movies.
But
Like it's storytelling in different ways. Yeah, it's really interesting, like the way it could go. What are you thinking? Like, do you think it's just flashy, or can you see this actually building like reader loyalty or fandom?
100% the second option. I think, it doesn't rely on this, but it certainly adds to you as a author's offering. You know, Surely what we're trying to do as authors is create a relationship with readers whereby they become fans, engaged, and interested in what we're doing. And one of the ways we can do that is by giving them more inroads to us as re authors. I'm saying us, I'm not an author, but I'm pretending, and just improving that relationship and the access points for that. A website really should be, sounds a bit weird, but almost like a love letter to your readers. This is your first opportunity to meet me. This is what I've got to say to you. This is how I started as an author. These are the things I want to offer you as an author. This is what I write in. And, as you said, if you can actually create a video or whatever where you are saying those things, it becomes far more authentic and engaging than just writing it down. Um, so yeah, and I do truly, I wouldn't be banging on about it and spending my time thinking about it if I didn't believe that, I can see this technology coming along and being part of what all of us do in all kinds of businesses in the future.
You are just a little excited, Stuart.
Sorry, I
No,
know
I love it.
I do
I
get,
just love it. I love when people are just, on something, like passionate about something, and it is fun learning, isn't it? And
yeah,
exploring, and so it's so exciting.
yeah. I
So
mean,
okay,
some of this stuff might
how?
fall by the wayside, but sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah, no, you're
I
right.
don't think it will. And I do get like a kid because I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking today or a couple of days ago, and I had a little demo I could have shown you actually. But, I think, smart speakers is another step that we're going to have to take as authors. So, you say to, I'm not going to say Alexa because she's going to answer, but let's say Jimmy. So you say, Jimmy, tell me about author Anna Featherstone. And it says, well, author Anna Featherstone writes XYZ types books. These are the list of books she's got. You can find out more information about her at blah, 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 blah. So all of this technology that's around us can be used to give you an access point to your readers. And that's my objective, to help authors go beyond what they're already doing, beyond the traditional, and think bigger and, in different ways.
So, as part of the production process, then, like, when is the best time for an author to think about this, or how long does the process take? So, like, yeah, what do we need to think about in terms of time?
Don't think about time, right? In the sense that, that is the killer, as we said. So, I mean, obviously, you've got priorities as an author. You want to get your book covers done probably first. Well, obviously, after you've finished the book or nearly finished the book, then a website, I would think. And, once you've got your ducks in a row, you've started to learn your craft. I would not recommend jumping into all this straight off the bat. Certainly not if you're a first time author. Get your processes in order, get yourself settled and ready. And then if you find yourself with a bit of time, then you can start to investigate some of this other stuff. Certainly don't pile it all in. I mean, I saw this with direct publishing, some big authors in the community started talking about direct publishing, and everybody was like, I want to do direct publishing.
What is direct publishing?
Or direct printing.
What?
Sorry, direct selling. Sorry, I mean.
Oh, direct selling.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
a
yeah.
couple of big authors
Okay,
say, oh, I'm
gotcha.
going to start direct selling. And then, everybody in the community says, I want to do that too, without even really actually understanding it or knowing what it might involve. So, yes, don't jump on this just because it's new and interesting. But yeah, give yourself some time to establish yourself and your systems, then introduce it as part of the system. And it will probably be easier to do. And you certainly don't need a lot of time to do this. As I said earlier, to create an AR experience, all you need is the original static image, whatever that be, and then a video that will overlay on the top.
Mm. And again, like, this kind of thing comes after people have gotten great at craft, because there's no use doing all this if the book then doesn't meet the reader's needs or expectations. So
Exactly.
there's a lot to be said for focusing on craft first, and then or we can play with all these things later.
Completely.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. These are
yeah.
bonuses, extras, they're not fundamental to the success of an author by any stretch.
Mm. So, is there any other tech or trends on your radar for the next phase of, like, book production, design, distribution, or marketing?
Loads. I'm
Uh-oh, episode 5 of the podcast,
yeah,
episode 6.
Yeah, sorry, we've only been here I've only got another 3 hours of stuff to tell you about. But no, I mean, as I mentioned, smart speakers, I think, is a really interesting incoming technology. As Alexa is going to start being much more like ChatGPT. It's going to be Alexa Plus in the very near future. So it's going to have a much more conversational way of dealing with you as the customer. So yes, absolutely, authors should be there. I think chatbot.
But for that, will that just be like chat, like one of those AI just going on our website and reading about anything about us on the web and then packaging that?
It,
Like, so we can only influence it by what we do online and what others say about us, but we're not going to actually give them the paragraph to say.
No, yes and no. Yes, that is exactly where they get the information from, all those places you mentioned. But we can also create what's called an Alexa skill, which is where we build an infrastructure. It's very easy. It doesn't take very long. And you'd say something like, again, I'm not going to mention the name, otherwise my whole house will light up because I've got one in every room. So you'd say, Jimmy, tell me about Anna Featherstone, and we put in the information that it gives back. I mean, I don't know. I might be able to very quickly give you an example, actually, an audio example, so you can hear it. Let me see here if I can. Alexa, open author James Blatch.
Welcome to author James Blatch on Alexa. Let's start. James has 3 books available. You
Yeah.
can buy them all
Alexa,
on Amazon.
Okay.
So you get
Yeah.
so my other one triggered because I've got it. Alexa, stop.
Yeah. Now you can hear it in every room of the house.
Exactly.
Turn it
Stop James
off.
Black. Yeah. So yeah, that's one. Another one is chatbots. I think that's a really interesting concept of readers being able to go to your website and saying, tell me about this author, tell me about the order of the books I should read in, tell me about the characters. They almost talk to you as the author. You could also have chatbots that are the character. So, go on and talk to, Jack Reacher and find out about him or whatever on Lee Child's.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, there's tons of stuff incoming. I think you touched on it earlier, and I think I've been working with Michael Evans, who does Beyond the Book podcast. Great guy, really interested in similar things to me. And they're just about to launch Creator Wood, which is a software where you upload your book and it creates a movie. Okay, in just a few steps. So as you mentioned, you become a movie producer. It does all of that for you.
Not like a 2 hour movie.
It can be.
Or are you saying a 2 hour movie?
It can be. I think it's
Huh.
slightly less than that, but it could be episodic as well. So it could be like a Netflix series of
Mm.
episodes, and it creates the whole thing. It is literally mind blowing. So creators now are going to be creators across lots of platforms, I think, in the future.
I think I'm going to need a little rest.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been so enlightening. Stuart, for authors who are curious but a little intimidated, what's one small thing they might do today to start exploring augmented reality?
Well, I think the first thing you should do is go and lay down in a dark room and consider your life. um, if anyone's interested,
Love that.
yeah, I mean, I do talk quite a lot about this, and this is not a shameless plug, but I do talk a lot about some of this stuff on my newsletter. So if you want sort of updates every now and then, and they're very casual and they're not formal at all or deep dive.
Yeah, we'll pop your website in the show notes as well
Yeah.
for the Digital Authors Toolkit.
And by all means, if you want more personal sort of questions or whatever, feel free to email. I'm more than happy to pick up emails and stuff. And you can book calls with me as well on the website. So yeah, I mean, do a bit of due diligence, as you mentioned. It's very important when you do any sort of investigation, making sure you're going into the world with your eyes open. And AI is a great tool for that. It can give you some really interesting insights, whatever your position is on it. Some won't want to use it, some will, but if you do, then you can get some great stuff. So yes, be assured that this is not a big scary world. This is a really interesting and exciting one that I think brings the future to the author.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Stuart. And thank you to you out there listening, dreaming your dreams, writing your truths, creating new realities for yourself and readers.
Yep.
If you found this episode helpful, share it with your writer friends. Until next time, I'm Anna Featherstone. Thank you so much for being a part of the Alliance of Independent Authors podcast family. And thank you again, Stuart.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to the production and distribution stream of the Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast with Anna Featherstone. This Self-Publishing with ALLi podcast is sponsored by BookVault. Sell high-quality print-on-demand books directly to readers worldwide and earn maximum royalties selling directly. Automate fulfillment and create stunning special editions with BookVault Bespoke. Visit bookvault.app today for an instant quote. This podcast is also sponsored by Gatekeeper Press, the all-inclusive gold standard in publishing, offering authors 100% rights, royalties, satisfaction, and worldwide distribution. Gatekeeper Press, where authors are family. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.